Okay, and I believe that that's going to wrap it up today. Just in closing, would like to thank everybody for coming today. As you can tell, there are no silver bullets here. This is one recurring theme that we've heard throughout the day is this is all about how we change behaviors, how we affect behaviors, how we educate, how we deal with the people that come into the system, how we make sure that there's a successful exit out from the system. And no one knows all the answers. There's not going to be a 100% success rate in anything. That's the nature of the business. One of the things that we have learned is that we've learned to identify some of the areas where we can get better. We certainly can get better in our messaging. We need to have a consistent message, not only within our state, but we're also working with Region 1 to become the first region in the country that works on doing a region-wide messaging area, which it makes sense. From Vermont, you can be anywhere else in the region within 4 hours. We need to have a consistent message that goes not only in Vermont, but wherever is going to affect people driving in or it's going to affect us driving out, so that we're going to get a consistent message through. And one of the other things that we're learning is you're never too young to learn. We need to start our messaging not when somebody's coming in at 20 years old, but we need to start the messaging when they're in, graded school, when they're in middle school. We need to start making that message clear. We need to start laying the foundation so they're not going to end up in the courts. Because there are going to be people, like that was mentioned before, that their first choice may be that, maybe I don't mind going to jail. And I know in my experience prosecuting, if somebody's been in jail 5 or 6 times and you tell them, you're going to do 1 to 3, sure, sign me up. They're going to go. So we need to work on our messaging. We need to work on our approaches. I know that there was some comment about, well, maybe the answer should be jail. And for some people, jail is the answer. But we also need to look at the realities of Vermont. I believe right now there are probably about 2,000 people that are serving sentences in Vermont. TJ arraigns probably 5 times that a year, just in Chittenden County. So the reality is that when you look at what our capacity is in Vermont, the jail model is not always going to work for us because we simply don't have the space. We have about 500 people out of state, about 1,500 people in state. So our jail beds, we need to save those jail beds for the people who earn their way there. And the reality is, to get to jail in Vermont, you have to earn it. We don't give it away gratuitously. And that's the way it works. So, those are a number of things that we need to look at as we go forward. Drug driving is not something that we can avoid. Drugs are not something we can avoid. If somebody would have told me, 10 years ago that we were going to be talking in Vermont about an opiate epidemic here in Vermont, I grew up in Vermont. I'd never even heard of heroin growing up in high school. Now it's an epidemic in Vermont. Now people that I know and their kids, they have opiate problems. They've been in and out of treatment numerous times. Never thought that would happen, especially in the Northeast Kingdom. But this is the world we live in. So I'd like to thank, first of all, I'd like to thank Ted for all the work he's done on that, our partners from Region 1 and all the presenters we had today. I'd like to thank Ted's staff, Ann, Betsy, Corinne, Sue Clark from VTrans, and Sue for working the projector. And just one last thing as we leave. Remember, it doesn't end here. It doesn't end here. This is only one small step in the process. For Vermont to get stronger in our approach, we need to start and continue having these type of discussions. We need to find out what the best practices are. We need to utilize those best practices. We need to keep the discussion occurring. So thank you very much, and call your legislators.